As a teacher, what is the most ridiculous thing that you have to deal with from parents who think that their child is a perfect angel? As a young teacher, I had to document every disgusting thing a student said to me because no one believed how bad it really was. It started with small comments, then escalated. Every day, the 17-year-old would make increasingly vulgar remarks. I reported him. The principal warned him. Nothing worked. I documented everything meticulously. One day, while reviewing the incidents with my vice principal, she began reading his compliments aloud. Juicy booty, TILF, and an explicit invitation involving his face. After she finished reading, the student casually walked by my classroom and smirked. My dad says European teachers just need a real man to put them in their place. Everything clicked. We called his parents in. I tried being gentle at first, not wanting to overwhelm them with the full extent of their son's behavior. Their response? Oh, honey, you must be confused. We raised him to compliment ladies. Maybe it's because you're not American? The vice principal had enough. She pulled out my documented list again and started reading the explicit comments to them. The father exploded, not at his son, but at US for exposing his innocent wife to such vulgar language. They stormed out, pulled their son from school, and he never returned. Last I heard, he was getting his GED instead. I feel sorry for whoever had to deal with their perfect gentleman next. Those weren't even the worst things he said. I never got to the part about his gestures. What is the cruelest thing you've seen a child do? I never thought I'd have to choose between my sister and my daughter. Mia came to live with us when she was 9, after my sister lost her job. Just until I get back on my feet, Kristen promised. 4 years later, they're still here, and I've watched something troubling unfold. It wasn't obvious at first, just small things. Mia hiding Zoe's belongings, then comforting her with exaggerated sweetness when she cried, the whispered comments that only Zoe could hear, the calculated way she'd turn Zoe's friends against her at school, one by one. Girls have conflicts, my husband would say, but I saw the systematic isolation. My 12-year-old now slept with her door locked, afraid of her cousin. Finding Zoe's journal was the breaking point. Pages of a once confident girl now filled with self-doubt. Maybe I really am the problem like Mia says. When I confronted Kristen with evidence, the messages Mia had sent to classmates about Zoe, she defended her daughter fiercely. Zoe is probably exaggerating for attention. That night, I overheard them in the kitchen. She's trying to come between us, Kristen told Mia, just like she always tried to make mom love her more than me. I realized then that this wasn't just about the girls. This was a pattern repeating itself. My sister teaching her daughter the same competitive cruelty. Last week, Zoe's therapist called it what it was: sustained emotional bullying. When I tried again to talk to Kristen, she accused me of blaming her parenting for Zoe's sensitivity. Yesterday, I gave my sister 30 days to find a new place. My family thinks I'm overreacting, but they don't see what happens in the quiet moments, the calculated harm disguised as normal conflict.
I caught my neighbor stealing boxes, so I filled one with crickets. She'd been taking them for months. My Ring camera caught her grabbing boxes after delivery, but police said they couldn't do anything without proof. They just told me to get a P.O. box. I was done being nice after she stole my mom's gift. I ordered 2 boxes. One had the real gift. The other, I went to the pet store and bought 100 crickets meant for feeding lizards. The guy asked if I had a big lizard. I just smiled. I put the real box in my backyard. The cricket box? Right on my front porch, wrapped with a fake designer logo. I added those fancy ribbons expensive stores use. Then I waited, watching my Ring camera like my favorite TV show. She took the bait in under an hour. I watched her speed walk to her house, that logo making her eyes light up. My camera caught the exact moment she opened it inside her garage. She probably thought she hit the jackpot until that box exploded with crickets. The screaming started instantly. Her garage door flew open and she ran out dancing, crickets jumping everywhere. They got into her house through the open door. The best part? Crickets are impossible to catch, and they chirp all night long. She tried everything: bug spray, pest control, sonic devices. Nothing worked. The crickets found their home. The chirping drove her crazy for 2 weeks. She moved out after that. The new neighbors, sweetest family ever. They bring my boxes to my door. Sometimes karma comes with 6 legs and a loud chirp.
I almost lost my daughter because the doctors wouldn't listen to me. She was only 2 years old when I noticed something wasn't right. Her breathing was off and she kept holding her chest. The ER doctor barely looked at her. "It's just a cold," he said, handing me children's Tylenol. "Kids get sick all the time." He didn't even check her temperature or listen to her test, just glanced at her from across the room. But my gut screamed that something was wrong. That night, her lips started turning slightly blue. I rushed back to the hospital, terrified. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely drive. "You're being an anxious parent," they said. "She's fine." They tried sending us home again. The nurse rolled her eyes when I started crying. One even suggested I should stop Googling symptoms and let professionals do their job. This time, I refused to leave. I planted myself in that waiting room and demanded a different doctor. They threatened to call security, but I wouldn't budge. I sat there for 6 hours straight, watching my daughter get worse by the minute. Finally, a young resident took one look at her, and everything changed. "Get her into trauma now," she shouted. My daughter's heart was failing. She had a rare condition that was crushing her lungs. If we'd waited even a few more hours, they airlifted her to a specialist hospital. The surgeon later told me, "Your stubbornness saved her life." She's 10 now, healthy and strong. But I learned something that day. Sometimes being a difficult parent is exactly what your child needs.
I told my parents I won't change my name because of their regret. I legally changed my name to Atlas when I turned 18. My birth certificate had Michael William Reynolds Jr. on it, named after my father who walked out when I was 2. For 16 years, I hated being called Junior or Little Mike. Every time someone said my name, it felt like dragging around the shadow of a man who decided we weren't worth keeping. School always started the same. "Michael Reynolds," the teacher would call. "I go by MJ," I'd answer, trying to create distance. Mom worked 2 jobs after he left. She'd help with homework despite being exhausted and never complained. Not even when grandparents would say, "He looks more like his father every day, as if that was a compliment. When I was 15, Mom started dating David. He was nothing like my father, quiet, reliable, with a dry sense of humor, an English professor who wore sweater vests and collected maps. His first visit, he brought me a journal instead of forcing some guy bonding activity. David never tried to replace my dad. He just showed up. He came to baseball games with his grading work, occasionally looking up to cheer. He helped with college applications and never made me feel like a burden. Once I heard him tell Mom, he's not my son, but I couldn't be prouder if he was. Before senior year, I researched name changes. Nothing felt right until I remembered a book David gave me about Greek mythology. Atlas, the titan who held up the heavens. That resonated. When I told them my plan, Mom was supportive but confused. Why Atlas? She asked. Because Atlas carried the world on his shoulders. That's how I felt, carrying Dad's name when he couldn't carry his responsibilities. At least Atlas never put down his burden and walked away. David nodded. Names have power. They tell a story. Exactly. I want to tell my own. After my birthday, I filed the paperwork. 6 weeks later, I became Atlas Reynolds. My first college letter addressed to my new name is still pinned to my board. Everything was fine until last week when my biological father called. Mom handed me the phone with a strange look. Junior? How's my little Michael Jr.? My stomach dropped. That person doesn't exist anymore. What? My name is Atlas now. He laughed like it was a joke. That's not your name. You're Michael William Reynolds Jr. Named you myself. Right before you left, I added. I legally changed it. He said he was changed. Sorry. Wanted to reconnect. He'd moved back to town with his new family but wanted to make things right with his first son. He kept repeating my old name like he could force it back onto me. Yesterday I found his car in our driveway. Mom and David sat stiffly in the living room with my biological father on our couch like he belonged there. They ambushed me with dinner. Mom kept giving apologetic glances. David was quiet. My father dominated with stories about his new life, kids, and business. At dessert, he addressed the elephant in the room. So you've changed your name to Atlas? Like the map book? Like the Titan, I corrected. Well, he chuckled. Time to reconsider. You're starting college soon. Reynolds men have carried the Michael name for generations. 3, Mom said quietly. 3 generations. He waved her off. You're erasing your heritage, acting impulsively. I understand you were angry. Were? I repeated. But changing your name is extreme and hurtful. David cleared his throat. Atlas has given this a lot of thought. My father's eyes flashed. With all due respect, this isn't about you. I stood up and looked him straight in the eyes. Those eyes people said I inherited. You erased yourself from my life when I was 2. I won't change back to a name that reminds me of your regret. I'm Atlas now, carrying my own world, not yours. He argued I was being dramatic, that family names matter, that I'd regret this. I shook my head. The only thing I regret is taking 18 years to realize I could put down a burden I never asked to carry. Later, David joined me outside with hot chocolate. For what it's worth, he said, Atlas suits you. And somehow, I felt lighter than ever before.